Welcome to Season 4 of the Knack 4 Business Podcast.
Today's show is brought to you by our K4B Profit Snapshot. Here's one question worth sitting with. If you stepped away from your business for 30 days, would it grow or contract? That answer tells you a lot about where you really stand. Try the free 5-minute snapshot. It measures process, profit, and personal freedom. Link is in the show notes.
Question for the listener. How do you keep your business running when technology suddenly fails? Our guests will walk through simple, real-world ways small and medium businesses can prepare for tech failures, cyber threats, and downtime before they cause stress, lost money, or shutdowns, or all of the above. Our guest today is Ron Klink from RK's Disaster Recovery Solutions. He's the founder of the company, and he helps businesses stay calm when technology doesn't. I can appreciate that, trust me. When systems fail, cyber issues hit, or things go sideways, Ron's job is to keep companies running without panic. He's known for taking complex cybersecurity and disaster recovery topics and explaining them in plain language that actually makes sense. Ron focuses on helping business owners prepare before trouble shows up, so when it does, they're ready, protected, and back to work fast. Ron, it's an absolute pleasure having you back again. Really good to see you. And do you have a favorite quote or saying, sir?
Yes, I mean, I actually have two favorite quotes. And thank you very much for having me back, Bernie, and good to see Wayne as well. One of my favorite quotes is getting the job done right the first time. Second favorite quote is, I'd rather be working on hard drives than drive shafts.
Yeah, the one can be running, the other not so much so when you're working on them. I mean, you could do
Exactly.
it. Yeah. So it's almost like a Boy Scout moment here, be prepared. So when did you realize that, that's a good business advantage? When did that light bulb come on?
Great question. Being prepared for business advantage. At first, watching all this on the local news, seeing all these different types of climate change, weather disruptions, any unforeseen type of events, not just had to do with weather, but through cyber attacks, blackouts, power outages, stuff like that. Real world experiences for unforeseen events that happen almost on a constant basis, regardless of what time of year it is, where in the world it might be. This is where I saw there was a lack of disadvantage for commercial businesses in this part of the area. For consumers, individuals like us, we have other companies such as the Red Cross to help us out, from a consumer side. But for the commercial side, it's really it's been hard, for companies to get back on track. Where they lose all their business information, their customers' information, stuff like that, and it takes them a long time to get back into that. Into the flow of things again and to be profitable. This is where I saw there was a need for my type of service.
Obviously,
Okay.
fresh eyes,
Oh,
and that is fantastic. But how do you see crises different than your clients?
Good question. Crises is we won't know when it happens, Wayne, but we have to be prepared for it, for when it happens. It's the due diligence that needs to be done before an event happens. This way, where the company's prepared for when this scenario occurs, would be, like I said, for power outages, a cyber attack, whatever it might be, doing these due diligence on a consistent basis prepares the company for when a disaster happens. And once the company reacts to this type of unforeseen event, they'll be more proactive and be able to minimize the damage for this and have little to minimum downtime depending on the severity of the event.
So, what surprises you the most about disasters, even though this is your business? What surprises you?
Another great question. What surprises me is that a lot of small, medium-sized businesses are not really prepared for when a disaster happens. I'm going to refer back again to cyber attacks. A lot of small, medium-sized businesses in the private sector are not prepared for when these types of events may happen, as we've seen on local news, where depending on where we live around the world, these businesses have been held up for ransom for digital currency, such as Bitcoin and everything else. A lot of these companies don't think that they're invulnerable to these type of attacks when they are vulnerable, and it's just a matter of when it's going to happen and how bad is it going to be.
so I'm kind of curious when people, like even manufacturers, right? If you, for example, a car has a seatbelt, took a while, and then people realize when they have a crash, the seatbelt kicks on or the airbag deploys. Are manufacturers keeping up? Like when I'm buying equipment, are manufacturers keeping up, or should I be looking for that right type of manufacturer that keeps up to keep me extra safe in system design? I mean, antivirus software, you see that coming out from the operating system platforms. But,
Mhm.
the hardware, right? Is it designed kind of to break easy until you put other things around it, like, a cushion? I can't see myself driving down the highway with a cushion in front of me, but, pre-deployed airbag. But is it just that it's not, I shouldn't say not well designed, but it needs more design?
It's not so much the hardware, Bernie, and you make a good point. It's not so much the hardware; it's the actual software behind it, which can wreak havoc on a computer network system environment or on a desktop or laptop or some type of smart device, whatever it might be. It's more the software part of it than the hardware end. The hardware end is just a physical thing. It's just like a shell. Okay, you put all the necessary parts in to make it work the way it should and the way it should and how it should be run. That's that's where the software comes in. Okay, these new processes and the mechanisms are going to make this run smooth. It's going to be a well-oiled machine, and it's more that than the hardware part. Just like you mentioned with the manufacturing for a car, a truck, whatever it might be, you put it together. Whether you have electric or gas, whatever it might be, diesel. It's making sure you put in the soft contents to make it run. Okay, if it's electric, you gotta make sure the battery's charged. If it's gas or diesel, make sure that the tank is full. So that's where the soft part comes in. So it doesn't matter what it is. The hardware is just a shell part, whether it has a motherboard or some type of electronic peripheral device in it. It's the software part that makes it run exactly.
Remember when 1999 ended and we were all worried about Y2K and they told us to fill our bathtubs and have 2 cases of water in the yard or in the cupboard? How do you know what disasters to even prepare for?
That is I do remember that too, Wayne. Back at the end of 1999 when they Y2 year 2000 compliancy was big, and I was part of that project team to make sure all the computer hardware, the file servers, all the backend computer network environment data centers had the proper compliancy for the Y2K environment. So I was part of that team as well. And as far as preparing for the disasters, how it's known is that okay, the internet grew back from it evolved a lot since from 1999 to now. Okay, there's a lot more social media out there. There's a lot more digital information out there than it was back in the early to late 1990s, going into the early 2000s. So the internet has evolved both from a research perspective to an information gathering perspective. So from social media to now video logs, video postings, stuff like that. All the different search engines from Google, Bing, local news events, that we see on our devices or on television sets. So the information is out there more now than it was back in 1999 to early 2000s. It's more widely available, more notifications going out. I said, "Hey, look, here, you're going to need to prepare for this."
So, how one could theoretically not make any money if one spent 6 hours every day preparing for some disaster? How do you have the short list of these are things I should at least be aware of? Who designs the short list?
So the short list, you're not spending so much as far as 6 hours every day. That's really not part of it's more on the short list of 6 hours per day, let's say, or more. It's having a checklist, okay? It's having a checklist, and it's all right. Okay, we need to test A through D. Okay, make sure that these functionalities work, these processes are working, and to the correct standards that we're using it for. Then it's more of a breakdown process, and it's doing it on a routine basis. Okay, and that's where it more comes in on a short list, just like you just mentioned. It's checking off the certain boxes and certain responsibilities that need to be done for the preparedness for when an unforeseen event happens. And it's also doing more of research and education to find, okay, what's going on with the latest Microsoft solutions, what's happening with Dell, what's going on, different technologies, different firms may have their own different varieties that say, oh, look, that looks interesting. Let me do a little bit more research on that.
One of the things I've noticed is that, if you go back maybe 30 years, the computer technology is, if you had an air gap, your computer is doing fine. Mind you, you would never get your updates to update your operating system. And now that's kind of hard because most of the stuff sits in the cloud. That again, that's kind of a new evolution. AI. Now, not just using the AI, but how do you prevent a threat from AI pillaging you or causing you harm?
Great question. Artificial intelligence has evolved, just like I just mentioned how the internet has evolved from the early 90s to now. Artificial intelligence has evolved quickly. When it first started coming out with ChatGPT about almost 5 years now, and it's evolved a lot with the prompt, using different prompts. Find me this. What's the best source to fix this problem in a good way? Artificial intelligence has been working now more in different sections of industry, from agricultural to healthcare to manufacturing to construction, etc. There's been lots of new things starting and a lot of new different analytics that are helping with different companies depending on their industry using artificial intelligence. The bad thing that's happening with artificial intelligence, and I'm pretty sure both you guys know this as well, that a lot of scams have been happening, whether it be from a both personal scam or a commercial. Personal would be voiceovers, first voiceover prompts. And would be a friend or a relative say, look, I just got pulled over by a cop, need a lawyer. He's right here next to me. He's going to need $2,500 dollars US currency to help take away this ticket and help not me go to jail. Mom, dad, sis, bro, can you please come help get on the phone with him and do what he says? That's from the personal side. It's using common sense on the personal side. On the business side, a different area, okay? With artificial intelligence, it's making sure that the company is ready for any type of AI solution they're looking to implement into their IT environment. They have to be secure. They need to be compliant in what they're looking to implement, and making sure that their environment is internally secure, and make sure it doesn't, the artificial intelligence solution that they're going to want to put in doesn't run wild, doesn't go start opening up, seeing, okay, uh, this person's making more money than me, seeing all the salaries of the employees within the company. And I've been here this long. How come this person's making more money than me? I should be making more than what he is or she, whatever it might be. So it's about having the control and making sure, allowing AI to filter what it needs to, not let it be like an open source within a company's environment.
So if you're using certain countermeasures to prevent people, like CAPTCHA, right? Is this a person I'm talking to? Right. I'm sure AI could spoof it. Do you find that AI could spoof other elements, other protective measures? So it's not so much I'm trying to psychologically con you out of something, but I'm using AI as a tool to go, hi, monitor this company for the next hour or two, or next week or two, or the whole company, or one person, maybe the CFO, and then launch an attack. Is there any way as a countermeasure? Or is there any way to even ensure the hardware you're getting in your shop is true? We all heard about the incident, and this is more at a higher level, but there's a whole bunch of pagers that got bought, and it didn't bode well for the agency that bought the pagers because they self-destructed. Is there kind of a proof in the pudding that says, hi, bona fide? In other words, if I get a chip from NVIDIA or, a piece of kit that it hasn't been altered and someone's screwing around either to eavesdrop or cause carnage or whatever, like almost like keystroke. Back in the day, we have a keystroke software.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, when you just mentioned keystroke burning, that back then wasn't good, and seeing every time a person would type in their password or username and password, they would see, okay, this person's username is abc at .com. Password 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's back then. That was bad. But looking back where we're at right now to where it was then, that's like small obscurity. Now this is more serious with artificial intelligence. Like I said, artificial intelligence used in a good way is beneficial, but used in a bad way, like we're speaking about at this moment, can cause real havoc and destruction to a companies if it's not properly uh, done right the first time and properly implemented. First, what needs is the assessment. So, not saying that it cannot happen to what you described, but it's hard to prevent it. It's look, any new type of ransomware attack comes out almost every day. Okay, a new group, a hacker or group of hackers come up with a new type of ransomware that'll do X, Y, Z, and it'll affect the whole company's environment from payroll to HR. Um, so this can't say that you won't be able to prevent it 100%. It's prepare as best as possible. This is why I always been stressing enough and educating enough to business owners, IT managers, etc. to this type of preparedness needs to be done on a regular, consistent basis. Would be quarterly, 3 times a year, which would be my recommendation, or at least minimum of twice, not once a year. So that's best way to answer that question of yours, but it's a good one as well.
But how do you know that something is trusted, though? Even if you just do from a hardware perspective, even if it's not someone trying to break in and steal your secret sauce recipe, but it just the quality is not there. So the outside of the case says one thing, but the inside is yeah, meh.
True. Again, it goes back to there's never 100% assurance to it. A company could stick on a label, say, "All right, we guarantee it's 100%." That's really, in my opinion, that's really not really so much of a guarantee. I give you, there's different examples. One where we have different artificial intelligence like Alexa and Siri, stuff like that. We say, Alexa or Siri, please do this for me, okay? And we're clicking on these small agreements, terms of conditions to, yes, we agree to these terms and conditions. Now that could be, we don't always read the fine print, which, a lot of us don't. I sometimes don't either, but I try to as much as possible. It's where it's at they'll record your voice without your permission, but you don't know what you signed. They're saying in that small terms and conditions that say, even though you accept and agree to it, they can do it, and they might sell it to a third party, your information, as we all seen throughout, whether it be via social media, news, whatever, that they'll sell your information to third party for advertising purposes as well.
So, um, can you give me 3 to 5?
Mhm.
Here are things that you're ignoring. You know they're a problem and you're pretending not to know. What are 3 to 5 things that you need to develop a checklist to at least to try to lower the fear and dread level?
Great question, Wayne. I'm like that as well. 3 to 5 things. Make it. And a bit from a commercial perspective, when you're running a company and you make a lot of money, 3 to 5 things you wanted to do, you want to stay up to date on your antivirus software. Okay. You want to make sure you're having all the latest security patches that are out there, whether it be from Microsoft or from Apple, whatever you're using, computer machine you're working with. So you want to have the latest security patches, latest antivirus program running. You want to make sure that your internal environment is as secure as possible. Make sure that certain users are locked down only to what they need, to what they've been hired to do. If it requires a higher level, let's say if you're in HR, you're in payroll, you need to get access into, let's say, a bank's portal to do the payroll using like a company like ADP, and if you're with HR, you want to make sure that the salaries are being kept private, and not being dispersed to everyone internally and seeing how much everyone's making. So it's the security, what also called it's the governance of it as well as perspective. It's the governance which is very important when doing that. So those are like between the 3 to 5 things I would say to be on top of, regardless of what industry you are in.
I have what has been called a low tech stack. Like that? But when you have an external IT provider, how do you A, articulate the questions, and B, understand the questions enough to hear the answer? What should you be asking your IT provider?
You want for someone that has a knowledge of IT but doesn't need to know the more granular technical stuff. You just understand the how I turn on the machine, how do I reset my email password, stuff like that, simple things. Explain it as simple as possible. And then your IT provider or person will ask, okay, well, are you referring to this? Are when's the last time you reset your password? Keeping it as simple and as possible is the best thing to do when you're speaking to an IT provider. And also the provider should do the same as well. Keeping it simple and not making it technical. For a simple password reset, okay, here, look, this is your temporary password. Type this in, type your username in, type this temporary password in. Once you click OK, another window box will come up for you to enter in a new password. Type in once, and once again to confirm, you click the OK button again, and you're set. The IT provider should be keeping it simple as well and not going to say, oh, look, this is what happened. We had to do this, we had to do that. The end user doesn't want to hear that. He just wants to have, we took care of your problem, your password's reset, and you're good to go. That's it. You want to keep it straightforward. If it's something more bigger, more complex, okay, look, this is what happened to your Word document file. Okay, we're gonna try it. We're gonna try to retrieve it. Let me get back to you within. I'll check with you within the next 15 to 30 minutes. Give you an update, stuff like that. This way, the end user or the person or the group team can get back doing to their daily working other responsibilities. So it's keeping it simple. It's keeping it easy and explaining it in simple terms. This way, the consumer's happy. You're working to make you satisfying the customer. They're happy with you. They'll always come back to you, say, "Hey, look, you remember that problem that happened a little while ago, or a month ago, whatever length of time it was? Same problems happening again. Do you think you can help me out again?" And you have a good relationship, communication, trust with that provider. You'll be good as gold.
So if a business is starting up, it's a solopreneur, they'll have potentially one computer, one box, maybe two, and a smartphone, maybe a tablet, might be kind of the compendium. And if you're when has it become enterprise? Is it like 10 or more, 15 or more, 20 or more? And is that at that point in time, the game gets really super serious? And it's serious if you're holding someone's credit card number. I get that piece, regardless
Yes.
whether you're a one-person show or you're a 100-person show. But when does the game get really serious that they have to pay attention to not just the hardware and making sure that it's, all the boxes are roughly the same depending on the tasks, and all the software is the same for uniformity for application? When does it get more serious? Is there a threshold for the number of computers?
Yes, that is true. So when it's like between, say, 1 to 500, it's considered small, medium-sized businesses. Okay, each provider or service solution provider will say, no, this is what's considered a small, medium-sized business at this number of workstations, these number of employees. And they'll say, okay, no, it's not small, medium-sized. It's from, say, 100 to 500. It's small, medium enterprise or small, medium corporation. There's different acronyms, but everyone will have their own definition of what they consider it as. But once you start reaching over 500 and over 1,000, that's when you start going into mid-market, then enterprise level at that point, Bernie.
And is that when you're at enterprise level, is that just mean it's more robust? Like, it's more bulletproof per se? Assuming everybody cares, everybody pays attention, they don't hit the phishing email and go, well, yes, I wouldn't mind earning that extra $1 million and buying the Brooklyn Bridge or some swampland in Florida. Those type of the scams are scams, right? But assuming people don't follow that, does an enterprise then provide a more robust protection?
Yes and no. And I'm going to answer that answer that two different ways. Yes, the protection is a little bit more robust, okay, because you have a lot more workstations, you have a lot more employees in the in the company internally, maybe even externally working remotely. Okay. You're working on a larger computer network system. Okay. So you're going to need more robust features, more types of notifications, monitoring, incident response, stuff like that. Yes, that's where it becomes more robust. But on the no side, the answer, whether you're an enterprise level or a small, medium-sized business, the type of attack, cyber attack is going to be the same. Now, whether or a scam, it's going to be the same regardless. If you're a small, medium-sized business or you're an enterprise level company, the scam's going to be the same regardless. It's the features are going to be a little bit less. It's not as robust as a enterprise level compared to a small, medium-sized business. But on occasion, you do have in the small, medium-sized businesses, you do have robust features. Okay, again, that depends on the type of business it is. If you're in legal, you're gonna need some more robust features. If you're an insurance company, healthcare, different story.
A lot of us are in formal or informal networks, and there's anywhere from 5 to 20 people that you hang with every week or two, and we all want to have the enterprise level capacity. Are
Mhm.
people actually banding together to say this this small group gets an hour of your time, but you're engaged for 10 hours because you have 10 of them? Does that ever work to give people enterprise solutions that don't think they can afford it on their own?
It's it doesn't really pay for it, Wayne. And now if they are very profitable in their business, then yes, it pays to give them enterprise level service and support for that in that instance. So it all depends on what their business is, how profitable they are in their business. Okay, then no, they won't need enterprise level services. So in that regard.
So, how much should a person be putting aside to say, I have a budget? I won't just be living on fear and dread, but I'm putting 3% of my gross revenue, whatever the number is, a way to say, here's my budget for disaster relief. Well, how do you do that?
So the overall IT budget within a company, depending on the size, that's also comes into perspective as well. So when you're in a small, medium-sized business environment, okay, you'll put, like you said, you might put 3% or more on a set aside of within the IT budget for disaster preparedness. So this plays into that factor as well, and it's based on the type of environment it is, how much services they're going to need, what solutions they're going to need. Okay, and that's where it comes down to. In disaster preparedness, there's no cookie cutter or boilerplate or template for it. Each environment is different. Each company is different. So it's more on a customizable service than a boilerplate or templates environment doing. Now, some business may bundle different services, including disaster preparedness, in their business model. I think that's not good, but if it works for them, great.
Say that again.
So some businesses will bundle different services together to make more money on different solutions. So some of those business models where they bundle different packages together, it'd be for Office, Microsoft Office, and other feature services into one for a subscription. It'll work for them and they're profitable, great. For me, that doesn't work in my business model. So, like I said, each environment I walk into, potential client I walk into, will be different. This is where if they're going to look to spend money or they're trying to be cost effective uh, in their solution and in what they're looking for. Some will want the Cadillac of IT services, but they can only afford uh, pretzels and peanuts. So when it comes to that, then you have to say, okay, look, I think you could be better off with this type of subscription package or this type of solution rather than paying the Cadillac of or the ultimate package deal for what you're looking for.
Is there kind of a strategic concept of, listen, I'll go with this SaaS software because everything the sensitive information is held behind their doors. I'm thinking like some sort of payment processors. They'll hold the credit card number, so you never have to worry about you holding on the credit card number, and it goes into the wild, courtesy of your machine or your box getting breached. Is there a strategy that where the SaaS software as a service entities also can be leveraged to provide that extra layer of security? In other words, you're a subscriber, your customers are, it's part of the back office, and your subscribers, your clients are coming through your front door. They're touching their system, and to get the results they're looking for. Is that a good strategy then, leveraging other platforms for their technological strengths?
Yes, and I think it has to be fortified environment for when you're dealing with money transactions. There's a lot of compliance adhered to before that even becomes fruition to start doing uh money transactions, especially electronically. A lot of There's a lot of compliance that needs to be done. Would it be SEC, NRA, any of those types of compliances need to be done. Make sure everyone's in compliance with each other. That the IT security is protected as best as possible. Because when you put your credit card, debit card out there on a provider's site, and you don't feel like taking out your company credit card and say, all right, I got to put in my account number. This is my expiration date, the PIN number each time. Some people save it, which it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. And when you using payment processing services like PayPal and similar companies like that, okay, you're taking a risk. Of course, we take risks every day. Every day part of our lives in what we do, but we have to be smart about what we do as well. This is what I always say. Gotta have common sense here. A lot of people don't use their common sense these days when it comes to certain decisions. But yes, it is good to have that. Just click on the button, pay, and off it goes. You pay your provider or whoever or your client, whatever it is, and you're good to go. Again, has to be secure as best as possible. If something happens, you got to quickly bounce back as quickly as possible.
Our listeners get a kick out of the happily ever after or the train wreck. Do you have any stories where you stepped in just before the Nigerian prince guy called? Or have you any stories where now a guy lives under a bridge because he didn't take your advice? Tell us a story.
So there was a fund that didn't take my advice, and the company got hacked with a cyberware ransomware attack. Their IT person thought they were as secure as possible when they weren't. The company didn't have any recent backups to their back office, such as from payroll, accounts receivables, and payables. So, the group of the hackers stole their information and has not given it back until they pay us the digital ransom, whether it be Bitcoin or any other type of digital currency. And I explained to the owner that, look, these measures need to be in place. Look what happened right now to you. You're able to run the company a little bit, yes. You're able to have your clients, yes. But your environment got got breached. And this was almost on not a big large scale, but honestly, I would say my opinion on meme scale, Wayne, and now they're still dealing with it, and I've been guiding them through it as best as possible. But the IT person, I didn't think we were secure already. We need to be that secure. Well, turns out, yes, you do. The way cyber attacks happen, like I said, every day, every time of day, year, it doesn't matter. You can't guarantee 100%, but you can say, look, we're doing this due diligence every day, and if we get hit, we'll be prepared and ready to go.
You find that insurance companies are offering policies that you've basically structured yourself securely as best as you can, and again, it's level of risk. All right, if you're holding high state secrets, you might want a little more security. But if you're I'm ordering 20 packages of chocolate bars and diapers, diaper supply and food chain stuff. It's not the same level of oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Do you find insurance companies are offering coverage as long as adequate protections are in place?
Yes, and especially with cybersecurity insurance, Bernie. Certain cybersecurity insurance requires, depending on the industry and depending on the type of business, you have to meet certain prerequisites in order to qualify for that level of protection. Like I was explained to Wayne, if you want the Cadillac services benefits of a cybersecurity insurance, you're gonna have to meet these prerequisites before we can approve your policy. But since you only qualify for this is what you're going to get right now. So you have to adhere to certain compliance, whether it be FINRA compliant, HIPAA compliancy in that regard. So yes, there's certain requirements that you will need to adhere to before an insurance company will approve you at a certain level, at a certain policy.
Are there stated standards that they look for? I guess what I'm trying to say, like, if I go get my license for a car, they say,
Mhm.
hi, you have to complete this written test, and then you have to complete this driving test. And, it's been a few years since I've gone through the process. And in fact, you have to play in the, not play, but, you have to drive a little bit to, to gain that experience. Is there something that the insurance companies have that's posted out there? And if you go, yeah, I've got my cybersecurity all wrapped up and tidy as a bow, but it was my cousin Bobby who came in, who just finished grade 8. Ain't the same thing as Mr. Ron Klink, who knows who's been around long enough, right? How do you make sure that, yeah, I picked the right person? It's like, again, back to the car analogy. If I go
Mhm.
see a mechanic, are you a licensed mechanic? Yes. Then, how do you discern that from a as a small business? So, what are the insurance policy recs and requisitions or requirements, and how do you know you got the right professional attached to you?
Great question. So certain requirements will and prerequisites will be assurance company will need. Some may require penetration testing report that your company's firewall is blocked. These ports are blocked from any external intruders coming in, wreaking havoc on the IT environment, business environment. That's one thing. There may be certain certificates of authority that may be needed by the company that's trying to get insurance for their business. Well, like I said, one is penetration testing being done. Others may be, do you have the latest IT security patches for your company's workstations? What antivirus programs are you running? When's the last time you had a cyber attack, or if any? If so, what was the outcome of it?
So 30 years has changed our business geography thanks to this box we use. In 1990, a person in the computer business could help almost anyone in their village. But now we have this internet where if it's in the English speaking world, some people want service in Saskatchewan and some people Stockholm. How big is your geography, Ron, and how do we get a hold of you?
So, great question, Wayne. And yes, like I said, over the past 30 years, the internet has grown. The IT solutions have changed rapidly into a good thing. So people who want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. They can reach out to me, go to my website, ronklink.co. They could go directly to me. They can read about what my company does, all the information out there. They can email me. On the website, there's info@ronklink.co if they require any help or they need some further information of what my company can do or provide for them. So those are the ways. They can also call for country code +1 718 568 6161. They can reach as well.
I want to say a thank you to Ron Klink, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. We appreciate your time today. Ron's seen businesses kind of have some issues. They get frozen out of their whole system, right, and not so good, shut down. Whether it's an outside threat, an internal threat, or just even component failure, because hard drives. It's not if, it's when they will fail. But always understanding everything has a service life. And that's where Ron comes in. He helps you prepare for that and stay strong and
Everything you heard today is for educational purposes only. It's not professional advice. Before you act on anything, talk to a certified expert in your area. Your accountant, your lawyer, someone who knows your situation. We share perspectives. You make the decisions. Want more? Head over to blog.knack4business.com, packed with practical episodes on AI, marketing, leadership, and growth. No fluff, just the good stuff. Subscribe while you're there. Until next time, keep building.
Resilient.